Welcome to In His Creation segment, volume 4. My name is Skylar with Sky Gardens. I grow flowers in West Texas. This is a beautiful morning, so we are out actually in the garden. Normally we're in the tunnels, or actually that's all that we've been, but also the flowers that we've been looking at have been over there. So that's also a reason why. But today we're going to be looking at the garden, kind of the beginning of Sky Gardens, how in the world we got started with this, and the plan for Sky Gardens, declaring his ministry as what we do, right? And so I feel like this is a topic of conversation that is kind of sketchy, you know? We look at it and we're like, yeah, of course Christians know to do this, to live out and praise his name in everything that you do. But as far as mixing business with Christianity, with Jesus, putting Jesus's name on a certain business like that, I don't know how that works, because God and money, not the same. And I think that's something that I really struggled with whenever I was getting started with all of this. And so we're going to talk you through kind of how in the world we got to this point today, because it's God all over it. It's got his fingerprints all over it, because this is not my plan. Like, Sky Gardens was never something I even remotely imagined doing with my life, but God did the whole time. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. March of 2020, I was about to graduate from LCU. My degrees were in history and criminal justice, and I was planning on going to law school. And if you would have asked me in February, I would have said, yep, I've got to get the LSAT taken, I've got to get going, I got to get my applications completed and everything so I can go to law school. Because I was one of those that was, like, I guess, late on doing all that, which is also probably just a God thing, because I didn't pay any application fees. So God knew the whole time he knew. But I didn't yet. And so I'd tell everybody, yep, I'm going to law school. I can't wait. Like, I'm excited. I love the law. I love America. I love our country. But I guess COVID really made me stop and think about that. Because I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I guess everybody thought during COVID a lot, because we're inside or we're outside more than often. I mean, I'm on a farm, right? Like, so I am getting to see God's creation. Our family had been in the middle of a trip to Lake Tahoe during the shutdowns, and so California shut down the whole state. They said you can't stay in our hotels, and so we start driving back. We go to the Grand Canyon. Like, nobody's on the roads. We're just getting to see God's creation. We go to the Petrified Forest, and this is all, I'm just drowned in it, really, because I'd been taking a biology class that talked about evolution and creation and the evidences for both. And the Grand Canyon and the Petrified Forest are perfect evidences, not of evolution, but of a creation and of a flood. And that is wild, right? Like, crazy. So cool. So I'm in the middle of all this. I'm in the middle of God's creation, and kind of looking at, as we keep on going, I'm looking at, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to go back to school. The LSAT testing center shut down. And so I'm like, God, what are you doing here? Yeah, I guess I'm getting kind of nervous, because I'm like, what am I going to do with my life then if it's not law school, if it's not what I've been telling everybody this whole time? Like, if it's not this, God, what do you have planned for me? Because I don't know what it is. And I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, and I'm looking around, and I'm doing the things that I had been doing all college. And so I was working for a wedding planner and at a flower shop. And so I was just around flowers, right? Like, a lot. And my prayer in that time, as I'm questioning what in the world is coming next, is, God, give me to do whatever is going to bring you the most glory. That is what I am constantly thinking, constantly praying. Bring me what is going to bring you the most glory. Because I'm sitting there And I really start analyzing going to law school. And I know there are amazing lawyers out there and they're doing amazing things. But I want to be at home with my kids one day. I want to raise my kids on my own. Like, I want to do this completely and fully. And I know that. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking around and I'm like, how in the world am I going to make this work? Because this is hard. This is really hard to even wrap my head around. Going to law school, I know that court dates are not flexible. So, you know, if you have to be at court, you have to be at court. Like, that's the it. That's the end of that. And it'd been so much easier if I was like, God, like, why didn't you give me a significant other that I was going to marry, my husband at that point in time, right? Like, where was he? He could have made it easier too. Like, okay, what are you doing, Mr. Right? You know, like, okay, then I need to do something that is around this area or around, you know, I mean, give me something, God. Like, what? What is it? And I'm just constantly praying, give me what is going to give you the most glory. And let me raise good Christian kids that can know you and spread your word too, God. So where is it? What is it? And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for an answer, right? And I just started thinking, as I'm getting these flowers in, I wonder if any of these can grow here. And I start Googling how to grow whatever, how to grow whatever, how to grow whatever. And I'd walk around our backyard at my parents' house because, you know, I went back home and stayed with them. All my roommates had left to go home because it was COVID. And I'm walking around and I'm like, huh. We've been cotton field for forever. This is all cotton field. This is not this at this point. This is all cotton field. And I'm like, I wonder what we could do here. And I guess I just start hearing this whisper from God, like, this sounds so funny. It sounds dramatic, like a movie or something. But, you know, it is a movie. Field of Dreams. If you build it, he will come. If you build it, they will come. I don't know the wording in that. I forget. I don't know. All I know is I kind of hear that. And I kind of start hearing this whisper, if you build it, he will come. And I'm like, okay, Dad, I think I want to grow flowers. And he's like, Skylar. He's just being realistic at this point, okay? And everybody I tell at this point is like, Skylar. And I'm like, no, I think we can do it here. I think we probably need some tunnels to protect us from the wind in the spring. But I think this is what I'm supposed to do. And I just keep on hearing this, right? So I start like looking things up. I start taking classes of like, okay, how to grow flowers. I take this course. I only take one because I'm a broke college kid who'd saved all of her money all college, right? To wanting to start a business, and still working all this time and I have a couple part-time jobs. Actually, I had a couple full-time jobs, and it was crazy, right? And so in the midst of all this, I'm like, but I really, really, really want, like, I really think this is where I'm going. And so I take this one course, and one of the parts of it is social media and marketing and all this stuff. And I start looking things up on everything, and they're all like, don't share religion, don't share politics. And I've said this before. I've said this in one of in his creation segments here. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, you know, I mean, that's probably right. Yeah. I remember looking at that first flower and thinking, this thing is shouting his praises. How do I not? But we've always, like, business doesn't mix with, no, you don't mix those two. You pick youth ministry, or you pick business, right? I mean, you go be a doctor or youth minister. It's not one and the same. It's like, what? I know a lot of kids who want to go be youth ministers, and it's because they want to do ministry. And I'm like, hold on a second. Yes, those people are amazing, and yes, we need those people, but we need people out in the field being ministry, right? Like, isn't that the truth? But I think this finally clicked for me as I'm sitting here, and I didn't care. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna share about if something is spilling out my heart about Jesus in this moment whenever I'm posting a picture on Instagram, then that's what's gonna be posted, right? I'm sorry. Here I am. Welcome to Sky Gardens. This is what we are. But at the same time, I was still kind of hesitant. How many followers do you lose from that? How many customers, working people do you lose? How many do you gain? And is that like a hedge in? Like, because I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be like, oh, we would support her just because she loves Jesus. No, I don't want it to be that. Like, I want it to be the beautiful flowers, and that's why, and yes, I do love Jesus, and yes, I am going to tell you about him and what he's doing out here, but, like, it's messy. It's hard to think, what am I going to do in this moment? And so I go to a Kingdom at Work workshop, which is actually more so for like people and businesses with large amounts of people working for them, employees and all those sorts of things. And so I was like, we're gonna go. I was so excited. I guess I didn't really know that all that much there then, but I did want to go. All of our friends who have businesses in town, they had been suggesting it, and so we were like, yeah, we're gonna go. So me and my mom go, and I think probably for the first time truly ever, like, I was at LCU and they did talk about faith and business, but man, these people, they were like amazing. They're living out. Rick and Holly Beatonbow were doing, and they're amazing people. Since then, Rick has passed away with cancer, but such amazing people doing amazing things and teaching people how to make God's ministry their business. That's wild. And we all talked about it there, like, this is something that, yes, I think everybody talks about, but do we actually ever put it in action? And this is where we talk about it, okay? Whenever you're growing up and you hear the story about, let me read it to you right here. We're going to talk about the parable of the talents, right? And we talk about it growing up as if it's like our literal talents and how we use them to bring God the glory and to multiply them for him. For the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants and delivered his goods to them. And to one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, each according to his ability. And immediately he went on a journey. Then he who had received the 5 talents went and traded with them and made another 5 talents. And likewise he who had received 2 gained 2 more also. But he who had received 1 went and dug in the ground and hid his Lord's money. After a long time, the Lord of those servants came and settled accounts with him. So he who had received 5 talents came and brought 5 other talents, saying, Lord, you have delivered to me 5 talents. Look, I have gained 5 more talents besides them. Wow. And his Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. He also, who had received 2 talents, came to him and said, Lord, you delivered to me 2 talents. Look, I have gained 2 more talents besides them. His Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. So you think you've got this one, right, who's got 1 left, and he went and dug it and buried it. Okay, but he's probably like, kind of getting a little bit nervous right now because the other guys, they multiplied it, and that's great and all, but he's also like, oh, but I didn't take the risk. Like, I didn't do anything risky with it. And so really, you should probably be proud of me because I went and dug it and buried it, right? Then he who had received 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. And I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Look, there you have what is yours, right? Like here, there's what is yours, God. But his Lord answered and said to him, You wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. So you ought to have deposited my money with the bankers, and at my coming I would have at least received the interest back on my own, come on. So the talent was taken from him and given to the one who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will have abundance. But from him who does not have, even what he does have will be taken away. And cast the unprofitable servant out into utter darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Because we sit here and we look at, God put us on this earth, right? He put us here and he says, here, Skylar, this is where you're going to be. And I've given you these talents. And especially, in high school, we talk about, if you have the talent of basketball, of football, of all these things, then go out and go and do those things and do it for the glory of the Lord, or it's also not going to mean anything, right? Like, we talk about it. We do, all growing up. But then you get past college and it's like, okay, so what are my talents now? I don't play basketball anymore. I don't do pole vault. What part of me does God want? And we're sitting there and we're looking at this and we're thinking, where is God in this? Like, what do we need to do? Because we don't understand God. We don't get it. And he takes the talents. I guess it's this for me, right? Like, I grow things. For him, I tend his garden is what I'm doing. And if you don't take that and do something with it, in whatever profession, whatever thing, if it is in ministry, great. If it is being a doctor, great. But if you're not out there using it, where's it gonna go? Nowhere. It's gonna go and hide. And then it's gonna be given to someone else who has done what God has asked of us, right? So, I say all this because making Sky Gardens and making this something to where, like, living every single day just totally for him, for his glory, is something that I don't know of being talked about a lot. We talk about it, but I don't know if it, I see people too, and I'm like, man, they're amazing people. They are doing exactly what God has called them to do in this moment. But as far as creating a business, and I'm being told at the beginning of this, like, don't talk about God, don't talk about his creation. And I'm sitting here and I'm in it. I'm out here in it and I'm like, no, this is it. Like, this is it, and it needs to be shared. This is where he is. He has come to this place, and I think he's doing some really cool things, and I am blown away by him in all of it. And so he does get the glory forever and ever and ever. Amen. Right? So amazing. So, I talk about this today because I'm sitting here even now, and I know this is Sky Gardens, right? And I'm sitting, but I question, is this all God? Like, I just want this all to be yours. I want it to be all your intentions. Like, I want to want, my friend Kate said this, I want to want what you want and love what and who you love, right? Like, I want that to just be, I want to be a living sacrifice to you, God. And I want this business to be God's ministry. And that's what they talked about at Kingdom at Work, at that conference that I went to with the Beaten Bows. They talked about putting a flag in the ground and saying, this is God's kingdom. This is God's kingdom here. Yes, technically, at the land office, it has the da-da-da-da-da deed written out on the land, but this is God's kingdom. This is God's kingdom here. Because that's what he's calling us to do. Is he's calling us to bring his kingdom here through our talents that we have. Right? That's it. That's it right there. So, I say that because I've been talking to God, and I've invited him into those leadership meetings of Sky Gardens. And I talk to him a lot out here, but I'm just truly, especially last night, I was like, God, I just want like one word to truly know, and to try to live out this year as far as, and we're in March, but like we're barely getting started with our year of like having people out to the farm and everything. And the one word that I just kept on coming back to is you. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait a second, did we just come up with, God, did you just tell me the word? Because I'm sitting here and it is you, because it's about you and you. All of this is about you. It's not about me. And I'm tending the garden for you. And that's it, right? So that is my prayer right now, is God, let this be about you. And I think he knows all the meanings behind that. And I think he knows exactly what in the world we're talking about. And he gave us this beautiful morning to do this video for, like, wild. We don't get all these. And this week is supposed to be a windy one. So, absolutely wild. But this whole business, and the whole reason I wanted to talk about this is because it is hard. Like, how are we going to live our lives? What are we going to do? Especially if you're, like, at the point where you're trying to find out what you're going to do with your life. Like, I encourage you to pray that prayer. What is going to bring you the most glory, God, through my life? Like, through my talents, through what I can do. God, what brings you the most glory? What allows you to work through me to expand those 5 talents into 10? Because that's where I want to be. I want to build your kingdom here. I want to let you use me for you. So anyways, that's what we're talking about today. Thank y'all so much for joining us. I hope that this was encouraging to you. And if you're at a point where you're like, oh, okay, what am I going to do with my life? I hope that this was really helpful to you. And if you're at a point where you're like, man, that I was questioning some, I don't know where you're at, but I hope that this was encouraging to you. And I hope God gets God gets all the glory in all of your lives. And I hope that people see him through you and what you're doing. I hope he does that with me. Good birds. Thank y'all so much for joining today. If you are new around here, or I say this in every video, but if you like this video or subscribe to our channel or do both, that just tells the algorithm of YouTube that, hey, this is a good video, more people need to see this. And I think that's what we're doing here through this YouTube, is being out there with people in order for them to see God in his garden right here, in this garden that I've declared God's ministry and God's kingdom here. And so if this was encouraging to you, go ahead and like, subscribe to our channel, and then we'll be back next week talking about who knows what, because we never know what's gonna be going on in this garden. So thank y'all so much for joining today. I love y'all. I love Jesus, and it's all about you. So thank y'all. I'll talk to y'all later, and I'll be getting back to you.